Thank you. My name's Dan. I'm an American. Not right here.
Thanks for
having me. I'm in country to travel around and speak to a number of farmers about how to work to optimize nutrient levels in food. I'm part of an organization. We coined this term nutrient density, which refers to the variation in nutrient levels in food. And for those who have perhaps eaten a tomato off of the grocery store shelf in the middle of the winter and one out of the garden in the middle of the summer, you know that you are wired by nature with a very sophisticated nutrient monitoring system called the nose and the tongue. That nutrient monitoring system tells you there is variation in tomatoes, even though the government tells you they're all uniform. That variation exists in beef and wheat and apples and blueberries and cucumbers and every other crop. The unfortunate or uncomfortable fact is that about the vast majority of the supply chain, the nature of the nutrient levels in that food is quite low. And so our work is on one side educating farmers about how to work effectively. It looks like more well with nature is what causes nutrient levels to be high. So the more the life of the soil is flourishing, the better the nutrient levels in the food are. It does not correlate, I have to tell you, with organic, with local, with biodynamic, with regenerative. All these labels do not correlate with nutrient levels. Flavor correlates with nutrient levels. Soil life correlates with nutrient levels. As someone who grew up on an organic farm, my parents ran an organic farming organization for 35 years. They wrote some of the first organic standards in the US. I can tell you I should be of the Church of Organic and telling you that organic is better. We sold at a local farmer's market. We knew we were better. We had our noses properly elevated because we were better people. And yet, when you do the science and you actually look at the nutrient levels, it is remarkably low in almost all organic, in almost all local, in almost all regenerative, in almost all biodynamic, in relation to what's possible. The bar of what's possible is quite impressive. The reality of what's out there in the supply chain is quite unimpressive. So on one side, we're doing the education about how to work more well with nature to get those results. On the other side, we're building and engineering handheld spectrometers. So effectively envision a ray gun out of Star Trek, where you're literally able to flash a light at the carrot, 20 out of 100. This bag over here, this one over here, 40 out of 100. This one over here is 80 out of 100. We have that capacity. We've proven it. We've published our papers in Nature, the journal Nature. We've manufactured machines and sold them around the country, around the world. So the near future end game here is an app in your phone where effectively the camera in your phone can be used as a spectrometer. You can flash a light at the 3 steaks and the shop that you can choose from, the brands, the milk, the wheat, the apples, the blueberries, assess relative nutrient levels, purchase what is best for you and your family, and then if you engage in this thing called social media, you can upload the results into the cloud and share with your neighbors where the best stuff is. So the insight behind slow food about flavor is exactly the point, because we are wired with nutrient monitoring systems that are there to tell us what's good for us. The reason I say kids don't eat their carrots is because they don't taste good, right? If they did taste good, they would eat them. Even if they're organic, even if they're local, if they don't taste good, they're not nutritious. So if we can create a dynamic where the supply chain can be incentivized to focus on quality, because if the 80s leave the shelf, the 20s stay on the shelf, the retailer is going to go to the wholesaler, is going to go to the buyers, going to go to the packers, going to go to the farmer and say, we don't want your carrots anymore, but we want more of yours. So money, for better or for worse, seems to drive the world these days. If we can align economic self-interest with visceral human self-interest, as in what's better for me and better for my children, actually is better for the environment. We think we can shift the way food is done on a global scale. So that, in short, is the essence of our work. Thank you so much. You got a question?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
So, thank you. Thank you, Dan. That's so interesting.
I just have two questions. One is, what sort of cost is a spectrometer nowadays? And two, how far away are you from the app? Because it would be perfect for us primary producers to have that data. Thank you.
Yes. So the first question is, how much is a meter? The one we built, I've got one in my bag over here. It cost $377, and it's open source, which means the engineering is all in the commons. So anybody who wants to can build one of their own. We're an NGO. We're an educational nonprofit organization. We're not a company. We're an educational organization. But the real answer is we don't have a definition for quality. The real answer is it's a very complicated science project to be able to say, to look at the 10,000 compounds in a carrot or the 50,000 compounds in a steak and say these levels and ratios equal 80 out of 100 or 40 out of 100 or 20 out of 100. And you can't calibrate a meter with 20 and 40 and 80 out of 100 until you've done the science to figure out what those numbers are. So where we're stuck right now in this process is raising the money to do the research to define quality. It's roughly $1 million per crop. We're doing beef first. We're almost done with beef. We'll have that done in about 3 months. And then for the globe, for the planet, we'll have a definition for this is 80, this is 40, this is 20. And then we can then calibrate meters for it. Wheat is the next thing we're doing. Again, $1 million. We'll do the science, then we have the definition, then you can build meters. So we're effectively $25 million from being able to categorically define quality in the food supply for the planet. Once that's done, once we've raised those charitable funds to get that research done, our argument is we can completely transform the economic incentive behind agriculture for the planet. Our suggestion is this is the way we accomplish the reversal of climate change. This is the way we accomplish the reversal of chronic disease, right? If we can align the economics and the supply chain around transparency and personal, visceral self-interest, we can actually accomplish the regenerative vision of reversing climate change. Anybody who's concerned about chronic disease for themselves or their families, much less the people in India or Africa, our suggestion is with this one science project, we have the capacity to flip a lever which can change the whole world.
You may not be able to answer this, but you said so far that not organic, not biodynamic, not regenerative makes any difference. Is there one thing you can say that yes, this does make a difference in increasing nutritional value?
Life. The level of life in the soil. No, regenerative is a series of practices. Organic is a series of practices. I use the metaphor of religion. If you bow down and pray to Mecca 5 times a day, does that correlate with a deeper relationship with God? If you do 5 Hail Marys, does that correlate with a deeper relationship with God? As a certified organic farmer whose parents wrote some of the first organic standards on the planet, we knew we were better. And yet, nature was telling us, with our plants being eaten alive by insects and disease, because being eaten alive by a flesh-eating fungus is not a sign of health, that even though we thought we were better people, nature was telling us we were doing things that were insufficient for her to flourish. So it's the sensitive, loving, caring, present engagement with life on your unique piece of land to support her in flourishing, which is the foundational component requisite for plants to be healthy. If you try to have a bureaucratic, regimented logistics framework that can give you a certificate label, which is a binary, you are biodynamic or not, organic or not, regenerative or not, that's a reductionist, mechanistic framework. That's not a living, subtle, dynamic. All the science we've done, the only thing we found that correlates with increased nutrient levels is levels of microbes in the soil. My critique of the opening prayer for acknowledgement of land was that it prayed for the animals and the plants and the humans. but it forgot the bottom of the food chain, which is life. It's the bottom of the food chain. It's the microbes, the bacteria, the fungi, the archaea, who came here first, who evolved us. 95% of the cells in your body are not human. They're microbes. 90% of the cells in a plant are not plant. They're microbes. Only when we work in harmony with that profound foundation of life, which is that diversity, should we expect the quote-unquote higher organisms to flourish. So it's a level of life that correlates, not a bureaucratic religious label.
That's great. Thank you.
Just a quick question on the spectrometer. Can it be used on live stock while they're live and live plants when they're live, so you could check out the nutrients and improve?
We currently are using spectrometers to read the atmosphere of stars 10,000 light years away. Right? The way we know what Alpha Centauri is made up of, the way we know the way that the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Telescope know what things in the universe are made from is called spectroscopy. Everything in chemistry is a vibration of physics. Copper vibrates at a certain frequency, zinc vibrates at a certain frequency, protein vibrates at a certain frequency. So if we can read what something 10,000 light years away is made up of, we can read what something a millimeters away is made up of. You can absolutely flash a light at the leaf of a plant while it's growing and see what it does and does not have, and shift your fertility program in season to accomplish higher levels of vigor and vitality. The capacity with this science, if we use it well, is to use science, use AI, use big data to support growers of all scales on all continents in much more thoughtfully working with nature to categorically regreen the desertified areas of this planet. We have the capacity to turn what appear to be existential, intransigent issues around in their head. It's entirely plausible. I think I've used up my time. Thank you very much.